statistical research currently being conducted in the Inquisition's archives. Indeed, it's now possible, on the basis of research done by academics such as Professor Jaime Contreras, to arrive at a scientific estimate of the total number of victims of the Spanish Inquisition.
Y podemos decir que la actividad procesal del tribunal fue menor, mucho menor que la que anteriormente se había dicho. El número de víctimas del Tribunal del Santo Oficio durante los 350 años de su actividad no varió entre los 3.000 y las 5.000 personas.
Burning at the stake, an image associated forever with the Spanish Inquisition. But the stake was used to kill heretics in England, France, Germany, and Scandinavia as well. Across the whole sweep of early modern Europe, heresy was hunted down and punished. But the virulence with which the other countries of Europe approached their task of burning heretics is a story seldom told. Myth can only be destroyed by fact, and the fact is that between 3,000 and 5,000 people perished at the hands of the Inquisition. During that same period, as many as 150,000 witches alone were burnt at the stake for heresy in the rest of Europe. The spectacular rise of the Spanish Empire was to be followed by an uneven but inexorable fall. In the 17th century, the flow of gold and silver from the Americas, which had funded the empire, slowed to a trickle. The state plunged repeatedly into bankruptcy, and the Spanish territories in Europe were relinquished one by one. Their armies no longer marched unmatched across Europe. If Spain's power had been responsible for the myth of the Inquisition in the first place, it might be thought that the myth would disappear as Spain reverted to obscurity. But it didn't. Instead, the Inquisition, a versatile scapegoat, was promptly blamed for Spain's decline as a land as well. Spain was derelict once more, a backwater in European affairs. And by the 18th century, the Inquisition too was enfeebled, dedicating itself to such heresies as drunkenness and swearing in church. Its career was over, but its myth was indestructible.
This legend on the Spanish Inquisition grew, took off, and had a life on its own. And throughout the centuries, it became more and more divorced from reality. In the 18th century, for instance, when Voltaire was crying against the crimes of the Inquisition really was killing nobody. There were no burnings or anything like that in the 18th century. And in the 19th century, when the Inquisition disappeared, they hadn't killed anyone for a very long period of time.
The Inquisition was eventually wound up in this backstreet of Madrid. Yet its supposed horrors were being more vividly presented than ever. The Spanish painter Goya depicted its abuses to satirize the corrupt Spanish government of his day. The now defunct Inquisition could be turned by Dostoevsky to criticize the despotic governments of the Tsars in distant Russia. As a myth, the Inquisition was becoming a shorthand not just for religious fanaticism, but for the repression, injustice and terror that the powerful states of a new modern Europe inflicted on their subjects everywhere. And for that incarnation of the myth of the Inquisition, the 20th century had a special use.
Have you ever been a member of the Communist Party?
Are you a member of the Communist Party? Or have you ever been a member of the Communist Party?
I ask you again, are you now, or have you ever been a member of the Communist Party? Do you refuse to answer whether or not you are now, have ever been a member of the Communist Party?
You can answer the question, yes or no.
Get rid of this thought. Rid of it. Quickly, before it's too late.
That is not the question.
Double think. Practice it. The party says the earth is flat. True. That's true.
Can be controlled.
The party says 2 and 2 make 5. True.
That, in my opinion, is the basic answer.
No.
An aroused public opinion.
Not no. Forget it.
To act on a local level.
Forget what you forgot.
Through local law enforcement authorities to wipe out the menace.
Comrades, attention! Our beloved leader,
Have you ever been a member? Are you now, have you ever been a member of the Communist Party?
No.
Ask him the next question. Ask him the next question. No. Never been a member of the Communist Party. That's not the question.
Am I by any chance addressing a senior dignitary of the Spanish Inquisition?
¿Te gusta la mucha de la Inquisición?
Good. Because if I am, I wish to make it quite clear that I am prepared to tell you absolutely anything.
National stereotypes fulfill very complex functions. On the one hand, they simplify reality. And reality is too complex for the human mind, and we all love simplifications. So, on the one hand, they are useful in that sense, although they, of course, falsify reality. On the other hand, they allow us to project our own unpleasant traits onto another, onto an external entity. Same as in the 16th century, British could believe that all intolerance was Spanish, that is foreign. Well, we can believe in the 20th century that all fascist or Nazi tendencies are German, when we should know that we all have Nazi tendencies, and we should fight our own unpleasant traits instead of projecting them onto another. But it's much more gratifying to expel them.
I wouldn't give talents for all of the rest. And crossing the channel, one cannot say much. For the French or the Spanish, the Danish or Dutch. The Germans are German, the Russians are red. And the Greeks and Italians eat garlic in bed. The English are moral, the English are good. And clever and modest and misunderstood. And all the world over, each nation's the same. They've simply no notion of playing the game. They argue with umpires, they cheer when they've won. and they practice beforehand, which ruins the fun. The English are best, so up